Alright, let's take a look at the rain that we were able to pick up yesterday. You can see another 0.1, 0.2 inches in Southern California again. Not all that much, but at this point in the season, we'll certainly take whatever we can get. So here's what we picked up in total with that entire storm, including this last weekend. You can see majority of it up here in Northern California, where we were able to pick up half an inch to an inch of rain, but for the most part, small storm as it moved across the state. So here's what the satellite imagery looks like right now. You can already see the majority of California, those clouds are clearing out, but there are three interesting things that you can see on this satellite. One is the snow in the Sierras. Those aren't clouds right there. That's actually some of the snow that fell over this last weekend. Two, it's the continuing clouds down here in Southern California. Actually still a chance for rain throughout there that we'll look at later in this video. But I think the most interesting thing is these little rippling lines right here. Those are actually called gravity waves, and it's always pretty interesting when you can see those showing up on the satellite. So we can also see what's going on with those storms in Southern California by looking at the infrared imagery. You can see those popping up right there, but majority of this system is clearly already moved into Utah and Colorado. It's just the very scattered, lingering effects that we're still feeling in SoCal. So this is the system right here that moved through and brought that rain over the last few days. And as we continue to click through, you can see it's going to be moving down through Southern California, and then by Wednesday and Thursday, it has officially moved into Arizona, New Mexico, and Mexico, and then behind it, you can see this ridge moving in. So where this low pressure system brought cool temperatures 10 to 20 degrees below average and a little bit of rainfall, the exact opposite is going to happen once this ridge moves in. That brings in warmer temperatures and no rainfall whatsoever. So I think that's actually the big story in the forecast right now, is the pattern change that we're going to be seeing over the next few days. So early this morning, majority of the state was still cooler than average, and especially up here in the Sierras and down here in Southern California, there's actually some places that are looking 15 to 25 degrees below average for this time of the year. But as that low moves out and as that ridge moves in, there's going to be a major change coming in, and we're actually going to see it as early as this evening. That's where Northern California already starts to feel the effects of that ridge, getting up to 10 to 15 degrees above average by this evening. While remember that low is moving through SoCal, so it makes sense that they're still going to be feeling the effects a little bit later, still 10 to 15 degrees below average this evening. But then as we get into Thursday and Friday, that's where the entire state starts to feel the effects of these ridge. And you can see, especially as we get into Thursday afternoon and Friday morning, there's portions of the state that are right here 20 to 30 degrees above average. And then basically the entire state at least 5 to 10 degrees above average. So that's the major change that's happening. Right here, which is this morning, about 10 to 20 degrees below average. By Wednesday and Thursday, majority of the state 10 to 20 degrees above average. So if we want to actually look at these temperatures, I think this paints the picture pretty well. These were the high temperatures from yesterday. So majority of the valley, your highs were in the mid 60s. Along the coast and in the North Bay, we're in the mid to high 50s. If we look at the highs for today, that's where we get up to already feeling some warmer temperatures. Because remember, NorCal starts to feel the effects of that ridge first. So our high temperatures for today, expecting to hit 80 in Sacramento, 70 in Santa Rosa, 75 in Redding. San Francisco, you're still on the cooler side, 63, because you're still getting those onshore winds that are pushing in those cooler temperatures from the ocean. If we click into Wednesday, we're going to see these temperatures continue to rise as this warming trend continues. Sacramento expected to be 88 on Wednesday, Santa Rosa up to 73, San Jose up to 77, and just for fun, let's look all the way into Thursday. Looks like the warming trend continues again, even getting into the low 90s throughout the valley. So the one other thing going on is the winds. Early this morning, relatively light winds, 5 to 10 mile per hour wind gusts. As we get into this evening, that's where the winds are going to start to kick up a bit. In the valley, getting up into the mid 20s. San Francisco, you might even have some gusts in the low 30s this afternoon, and that's also true for the North Bay. Now the good news there, if you're not a fan of wind, is tomorrow afternoon, it's still going to be gusty, especially if you're here in San Francisco, expecting 28 mile per hour gusts tomorrow afternoon. But throughout the valley, looks to be calmer tomorrow than we're expecting later today. So I also mentioned what was going on in SoCal, and I'm just going to re-show this map because I think it perfectly shows what's going on. The low moves through Southern California, so they're actually going to still be feeling some of the effects from this storm even throughout the day today. So here's your highs for yesterday. You can see much cooler than average, 10 to 15 degrees below average. Your high in Los Angeles yesterday was 59, San Diego was 59. As we go into today, this is where there's a difference from Northern California. Los Angeles and San Diego still looking relatively cool. Even in some of these places like Indio that should be much hotter, just in the low 70s. Los Angeles, your high for today should be 62 degrees. Now if we go into Wednesday, that's where the warm-up finally comes in. So it's delayed because that low is still working through Southern California. So your high temperatures for Los Angeles tomorrow, now you're expected to get up to 80, Indio 87. Parts of the valley like Bakersfield, you're getting up into the mid 80s. And then Thursday, that trend is just going to continue. Los Angeles up to 83, Bakersfield up to 95. So it's the warming trend that is going to kick in a day later than it is in Northern California because of that low slowly working its way through the southern part of the state. Now the other thing it's going to do is allow for the possibility of some last little bits of rainfall to fall. We have some possible rain going on in SoCal as of right now, and then as we get into this evening, there's very scattered areas still picking up some very light rain. So clearly not widespread rain by any standards, but there are a couple spots that could be feeling some sprinkles as we get into about 5 p.m. today. But about 11 p.m. tonight, I would say the low is officially gone. You can actually see that the high pressure system started to move in. We're going to be dry after that. So you can see that a little bit better on this map. This is showing the moisture in the atmosphere. There's that strip of the last little bit of this storm. You can see how much moisture is over here in Utah and Colorado. That's the bulk of the storm that's already moved out, but we do have this last little strip working its way through SoCal. That's what's going to allow for some scattered showers throughout the next 5 hours in very select locations. And then that, you can see, is going to be basically gone by the time we get into tonight, and then taking its place is going to be that ridge and all this dry air. With a ridge, you get warm temperatures, dry air, and you can see that's going to be the pattern that's shifting in Wednesday, Thursday, and especially Friday as we get some extremely dry air over the state. That's where our relative humidities could actually be in the single digits. So I hate to say it, but we might even go from worrying about, or not worrying about, but enjoying rainfall to possibly having to think about maybe some wildfire danger once again. Now, one thing that is the good news when it comes to wildfire danger is a lot of our light fuels have been enjoying all that moisture that we've had over the state for the last 4 days. So this is just about the best our lighter fuels have looked. What that means is basically the moisture in the fuel. The more moisture there is, the less likely a fire is to start. And I wouldn't say we're in wildfire season yet, but I'm transitioning for this to be my focus because we're almost getting into the season here. But the good news is, with all that moisture we've had the last 4 days, our lighter fuels are looking about as good as they have for the last few weeks. We typically look like Arizona here, where you can see critically dry fuels, and they do have a wildfire threat right now. So right now, we're looking pretty good when it comes to moisture with our fuels, but again, that's most likely going to change once that dry air works its way in. So one thing I always talk about wildfire, one other thing we're also always looking at is the California drought. We did have some of that extreme drought extend farther into Southern California here. Again, that system that we got over the last 4 days was nice, but it wasn't large by any standards. We did pick up half an inch to an inch of rain up here in Northern California, but certainly wasn't enough to really put a dent in the California drought. So when it comes to this, my key thing that I like to look at is if there's any more rain in the forecast. And unfortunately, the next two charts I'm going to show you aren't too encouraging. So this shows 6 to 10 days out if we're expecting any rainfall. And this actually shows the probability for Northern California. They're actually expecting it to be drier than normal. And then 8 to 14 days out, you can see that drier than normal category is actually extending all the way down into Southern California. So that's not exactly what we want to see. We want to see us in that green color there that shows that there's going to be a lot of precipitation on the way. But there is possibly some good news if we look at the actual forecast model. So there's that low that brought the rain the last couple days. That's moving out. We have that large ridge taking its place. That's what's bringing in the temperatures that are 10 to 20 degrees above average and all that dry air. So what we want to see is if there's another low pressure system anywhere on the horizon. And as it turns out, there's the possibility as we get into later into Sunday, it looks like there's this tiny little trough that goes through Washington and Oregon. Now, that's a ways off in the forecast, so this most likely will change by the time we get to Sunday, but that's actually good news because what we want to see is this model to change so that this trough is working all the way down into California, because after that, there is most likely another ridge building in where we'll once again have warm, dry conditions. Now, I usually don't go this far out in the forecast, but we'll do it just for fun. There appears to be a change in the model all the way into this time next week. The models are now showing this trough in this low pressure system possibly coming into California. Again, this is ways off in the forecast, so I'm not saying this is going to happen, but certainly encouraging to see that there could be something on the horizon. So if we want to see both of those when it comes to the actual precipitation maps, again, we'll go back to the beginning here. That's the last bits of rain that we're picking up in SoCal over the next couple of hours. Then we transition to completely dry conditions over the state with that high pressure system. Then Saturday and Sunday, you can see a couple little bits of rain that will possibly move over Northern California. We'll have to keep our eye on that one. And then way off in the forecast, there's that possible system that could be dipping down. And as of right now, the models are showing possibilities of rain and snow next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Again, models will change by the time we actually get to that date, so we'll just have to keep our eye on it and hope that we do end up getting something. But if I had to summarize, I would say big story right now, we have cool conditions as of this morning, but those are going to be transitioning to warmer conditions throughout the next few days, most likely peaking on Thursday. So hopefully this was helpful. You can come back tomorrow or the next day where I do these live weather forecasts and for California. So thanks for watching and have a good one.